With so many changes at government agencies, I've been getting messages like this. Are we in more danger since NOAA might get shut down? Well, nobody's saying NOAA is shutting down, but with last week's cuts, there are real concerns that your forecast is going to be impacted. I've always said that I love meteorology and the weather because I love to put together the pieces of the puzzle that is the atmosphere. I wanted to make this really simple, so I made a puzzle and wrote the atmosphere on it. Each puzzle piece you could think of as a thermometer, or say a satellite, a radar, and each of these puzzle pieces is critical to making a good forecast. The National Weather Service, which is part of NOAA, owns, operates, and maintains these puzzle pieces. So when you get rid of them, you have a less accurate forecast. While we don't know exactly what jobs have been cut, we did immediately see impacts like this. A weather balloon in Alaska, because of staffing shortages, will no longer be launched. So that means you've taken out some of the puzzle pieces. That means a forecast will be less accurate, even though it was in Alaska, because that puzzle piece impacts the whole rest of the atmosphere. The National Weather Service has 122 offices across the nation, 13 river forecast centers, and 2 tsunami warning centers. Before last week, they had about 4,200 employees, but with the deferred resignation and the firings, they're about 280 short from that. And you say, well, there had to be some fat to be trimmed. Not only can I not do my work without the National Weather Service, but the entire world of forecasting hinges on the NWS. That's right. Everything in weather, including the app that tells you what the temperature is walking out the door. That's run by observations from the National Weather Service. And that forecast that you look at to plan your day, yeah, that one too, it's run by NOAA computer models. That tornado warning that got you and your family in your basement and safe with your helmets on, yeah, that was issued by the National Weather Service, by a forecaster who was reading their radars, which they have 159 of, that they also maintain. And I know that most people have no idea how lucky we are. We have the most extensive network of observations here in the United States. It's all from the National Weather Service, which prior to 1970 was called the Weather Bureau, and that started in the late 1800s. Just like I take my observations of temperature, wind speed data right here in my backyard, the National Weather Service takes them every hour of every day at every major airport around the country. Then, at least 90 weather balloons are launched by the National Weather Service every day. They go up much like the drone is rising into the atmosphere, and there's a little box attached. They capture temperature, dew point, pressure, lots of different variables, and then they send that data back. That cross-section of the atmosphere is critical to put into computer modeling and make our forecast. Not only is it the hardware and the forecast, but it is the way that that information gets shared. And each National Weather Service office has partners with local fire departments, police, schools, emergency managers, all the way up to the federal level so people can prepare for disaster. And when a disaster's coming, like flooding in a flood-prone area like this, they, the National Weather Service, will talk to city planners so they can get ready for the emergency. Your power company that energizes your power lines and give you power in your home, yet they're likely using data collected and maintained by the National Weather Service to make decisions about disasters. To give you an idea of what the typical National Weather Service office looks like, and they are all different depending on size, but in general, you'll have an MIC, a meteorologist in charge. They're kind of the overall manager. The SOO, the Science Operations Officer, they do a lot of the training. The WCM, which is the Warning Coordination Meteorologist. Then you have a hydrologist, often that is shared between 2 offices. The IT support, to make sure computers work and all, engineers for the radar and more, then 4 to 6 lead forecasters and 4 to 8 support forecasters because they all work in shifts. Now, all of these people cover all of this, the storm spotter network, the marine weather, the aviation weather, tsunami, and even fire weather. Pretty important. And get this, the American Meteorological Society put out a study that showed that the National Weather Service cost the taxpayer about $4 per year. I'd say that's a pretty amazing return on investment for a life-saving service. The union that represents the National Weather Service employees is worried that at each National Weather Service office, they may not have enough staffing to run 24/7 like they do now. They also, and you've got to hear the exact words here, they're concerned that there may not be sufficient satellite operations to track and command the weather satellites on a continuing basis. If we lose that data, that is a giant, gaping hole in our puzzle. We reached out to the National Weather Service for comment. They said that they do not comment on personnel issues, but they do remain committed to their mission, which is to keep the public safe. The American Meteorological Society, meanwhile, regarding the cuts, stated that the consequences to the American people will be large and wide-ranging, including increased vulnerability to hazardous weather.